Good evening. My name is Dr. Jennifer Forey, and I proudly serve as the Dean of Students at Emmanuel College. I would like to say a hearty welcome to all family members for the class of 2025. Congratulations. This is an enormous achievement for your student, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have them join the Saint family this fall. So a little bit about the format tonight. I have an amazing group of panelists here from various offices and student affairs, and we are going to answer as many questions as possible. Some have been submitted ahead of time, some are being submitted live, and we'll kind of go like as a round robin. Our goal is to answer as many questions as possible tonight. And if there's any questions that are unanswered, you can always follow up with us by emailing orientation2@emmanuel.edu. So a few key points about student affairs. We plan to have a vibrant co-curricular experience with full athletic schedules, social events, club activities, service projects in the community, access to our neighborhood and city, regular dining services, and much more. The health and safety of our students is always at the top of our priority list, and we look to create this dynamic on-campus experience starting right away with move-in. I am also joined by a number of my colleagues from across the college who will serve as panelists answering your questions this morning. Doris Griffith, Assistant Dean of Student Learning and Success in Academic Advising. Susan Benzie, Assistant Dean of Residence Life and Housing. Jack Kelly, Director of Campus Safety. Lauren Davis, Director of Health Services. And Dr. Luciano Lima, one of our clinicians in the Counseling Center. And now I'd like to present Dr. Joseph Kurtz, Vice President of Academic Affairs and Professor of Biology, who will share a few words about our academic offerings and our fall reopening plans. Dr. Kurtz.
Thank you, Dr. Forey, and good evening, everyone. I just want to start by saying I am so excited to be welcoming back our entire community back to campus this fall. Now, normally during this time in orientation, I'd be giving an overview of our commitment to educate your students in both the liberal and useful arts and sciences, and how we accomplish this with our academic programs, as well as our internships, as well as the wonderful study abroad opportunities that will be available. So if you have any questions about these topics today, I encourage you to please ask them, and we'll do our best to answer them throughout this evening. Now, while the pandemic led to immediate and very pragmatic shifts in how we delivered the classroom experience over the past year, we did not stop in continuing to develop and refine the academic offerings that provide the experiences and content that your students want and need to be successful. In fact, over the past 2 years, we'll have offered over a dozen new majors, minors, and concentrations for them to take, from data analytics and global and public health to finance, marketing, criminology and criminal justice, digital history and political communication. And I can say that the decision to offering a nursing major was a remarkable stroke of foresight, even if it did lead to having to build out the amazing new labs during the pandemic. But before then, I want to address our planning for opening safely this fall for not only the students, but the entire Emmanuel community and our surrounding neighbors. The fall 2021 semester will see a full resumption of living and learning on Emmanuel College campus. This will include all in-person classes, residence halls at full capacity, and a return to in-person events and activities. The college will adhere to the latest guidance from the City of Boston, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the Centers for Disease Control Prevention, as related to any necessary COVID-19 protocols. But I want to share that we also pull information from other world leaders so that we can better understand and deal with the pandemic. This includes our partnership with the Broad Institute, which is a joint MIT-Harvard endeavor this past year for our testing protocols. We also daily track the national and international updates from Johns Hopkins, as well as following hyperlocal data analyzed by our own biology, biostatistics, and mathematicians on campus. And I want to share that we were incredibly successful. This past spring, while we did have positive cases on campus that required quarantine and isolation, Emmanuel never had an outbreak that required isolating an entire floor or a dorm or having to transition the entire campus to 100% virtual. In fact, at the end of the semester, we had a rolling 7-day average of 0 positive cases, which is frankly amazing as compared to most other institutions across the country. This success required collaboration across the entire campus, and it was a testament to our holistic approach to dealing with the pandemic. Now, for our summer activities, those who are on campus are fully vaccinated. and they are not required to wear a mask or physically distance. We are asking those who are not fully vaccinated that visit our campus to continue to wear masks over the coming weeks. These guidelines will be constantly reviewed and revised as we receive additional external guidance from various sources. Now, to ensure that we can safely resume a vibrant campus experience, the college announced this spring a COVID-19 vaccine requirement for all students participating in curricular and co-curricular activities at Emmanuel. This requirement aligns with Emmanuel's philosophy during the entire pandemic of protecting the health and safety of our own community, as well as our surrounding community. Having a vaccinated population also protects those who are unable to be vaccinated for medical reasons, or those who have serious health conditions. We rely heavily on scientific and medical guidance, as well as collaborative conversations and efforts of area colleges and universities. Now, those who are seeking a medical or religious exemption from this requirement are asked to fill out a waiver form, which can be requested via health services. These exemptions are being reviewed carefully on a case-by-case basis. Guidelines for those unable to be vaccinated will be shared as the semester draws closer, and we have access to the latest public health guidance. It is likely that those unable to be vaccinated will participate in regular COVID-19 surveillance testing on campus and will also be asked to closely monitor and report symptoms. The college will also be allocating a small number of isolation rooms for anyone who does test positive for COVID-19. We know you will have additional questions that the panelists are happy to answer during the session. And if you have questions that are more specific to you or your individual students' needs, we encourage you to reach out and we can set up an individual conversations as needed. Thank you so much. And again, welcome tonight. And I really look forward to meeting all of you in person this fall.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtz. So we've had several questions about what does a typical move-in process look like and when is move-in? So Susan Benzie, would you take that one?
Thank you very much, Dean Forey. Thank you for everyone for joining us this evening. We know that, especially from a residential perspective, it's really important that everyone's aware of just how excited we are that you and your student are coming this fall. So as we have gone through the orientation sessions and as your student has been in the Res Life session so far, we've talked a little bit about housing. How does housing get created through housing assignments? So we will ask that students complete their housing lease and question preference by this Sunday at midnight. Residence Life then uses the information to either pair students together if they are going random with another individual or make mutual roommate requests possible. Residence Life will then send out this information by the end of the week of July 5th. And in that will include the student's roommate, name, and email address. So all of the students that are going to orientation, either in person or virtual, have all been provided this information. Then what will happen is that we will send out detailed move-in instructions at the beginning of August. First year move-in is for September 5th on Sunday. And this date is based upon what our current plans are. Obviously, Emmanuel takes everything that we give for state and local guidance very seriously. And we want to make sure that people do plan ahead, but remain flexible and adaptable if something does come up. So for everyone's information, Sunday, September 5th is first year move-in. Our first year buildings are Loretto Hall and St. Anne's Hall, and more detailed instructions on the move-in process will be sent out at the beginning of August.
Thank you, Susan. For all of our guests here tonight, I would just like to kindly ask that you use the Q&A box for asking questions. We'll be able to answer your questions faster. Thank you. Mr. Reese, there is a question about why do freshmen only take 4 classes in their first year per semester?
So I'm going to start by welcoming you all to the webinar tonight. And we are saying that we are very excited to meet your students. I have already met some of them. And, I think that, the fall is going to be just a wonderful, wonderful return for us back to campus. So to the question, students are recommended to take 4 classes per semester. Students need 128 credits to obtain a degree from Emmanuel College. So if you break that down across 8 semesters, the recommended amount of credits per semester is 16, which means 4 courses. Now, I will say that the possible reason for the question is that obviously at other institutions, students will, typically may take more courses. students are able to take 5 courses per semester here at Emmanuel, but our recommendation is that students not do that in the first semester. Why? Because there's a lot of transition that happens. There's a lot of time in between, the time a student graduates from high school and, obviously coming off to college. There is, a lot of transition that happens in the first few months or almost the first full semester of college. And so that is why we try to hold the recommendation to 16 credits. On a case-by-case scenario, we will talk to a student about whether or not 5 courses may be appropriate, but really it's a transition. The student needs to learn how to maneuver in a new environment, find the support system, make connections. So that's basically the reason why. So possibly 5 classes later on down the journey.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. So there's a couple questions about family engagement. So when is family weekend? So we have a robust family weekend program that is thoroughly enjoyed by not only our first year families, but really our families going all the way up to the senior class. It's a great weekend on campus. It typically happens every year, mid-October, and we'll make sure you have that date for move-in or when your commuter students arrive to campus at the beginning of September. There's also a question about how to connect with other families. While we don't sponsor any online social media platforms, we find that our parents really engage well with each other when they get to campus. They're on site, either moving in their student or enjoying the family barbecue, which is open for all of our families. And that whole day concludes also with a family mass. It's one of our biggest attended programs by families, and certainly, anyone of any denomination is welcome at mass. So between family weekend and our opening weekend, we find that you'll find really positive interactions with the rest of the EC families. Lauren, could you please talk a little bit about what happens when my student is sick with the flu, strep throat, and what local pharmacies are available for medications?
Sure. Thank you. And it's my turn to welcome you all to the Emmanuel College community. So we are obviously on site. Health Services is located in the brand new Wellness Center, which is located on the 2nd floor of the Gene Yaki Center, right next to the brand new nursing department. So it's both convenient and very accessible and yet private for students. So we are open during business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Students do need to call, email, or they can just walk in and schedule an appointment. The vast majority of times we can see students that same day. So just like a local urgent care, we do have good availability for same day appointments. And we can do a lot of things just right here on campus. We can do many things your primary care doctor can do or your student's pediatrician can do. We do a lot of rapid on-site testing, including flu, mono, strep. We will have rapid COVID-19 tests available in the fall. And as far as pharmacy, we do write prescriptions. We're staffed by 3 nurse practitioners. I'm one of them. And we do write prescriptions when medically indicated. And lucky for us, we are in the middle of downtown Boston. So we're surrounded by pharmacies, CVS being the most common and the most and the closest. There's a CVS in the Target that is kind of maybe a 5-minute walk from campus. So that's where most students tend to go.
Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
And Dr. Lima, we have several questions regarding counseling services. What is provided on campus in terms of support for wellness and the holistic student experience?
Yes. So as Doris answered earlier, it can be a very difficult transition for some students onto campus. And for those students who find that their difficulties rises to a clinical level, we provide mental health services for all our students. We see mostly anxiety and depression. And we have, I think we've seen overall about 20% of our students. So there's a really it's a relatively high participation rate, and students don't have to actually go off campus to seek services most of the time, And we're really happy that we're able to provide that right here on campus. If your student is interested in seeking services, they can reach out to us. Either come right to our facilities on campus. We're on the second floor of Marion Hall, which is in the Gene Yaki Center, and our business hours are 8:30 to 4:30. And you can schedule by either coming in person or you can call us. Our number is 617-735-9920. And usually we can get an appointment for a student within a few days. And then we'll do an initial assessment just to see if our services are most appropriate for those students, if other maybe higher levels of services are more appropriate for them. And from there, we can usually get them into see us for regular counseling within a week or two. So, yeah, did I cover that, Dr.
Yes.
Forey?
Thank you, Dr.
All
Lima.
right.
So as you've kind of already heard parents and families from, the panelists already, we really view supporting our students, all of our students, from the holistic lens, whether that's academically, spiritually, emotionally. We believe in, really enhancing the growth of students from the total student perspective. Let's see, Jack Kelly, our Director of Campus Safety, I'm going to ask to take next. Boston is an urban city. How safe is the Emmanuel campus? Oh, Jack, you're muted.
Dr. Forey, thank you for that question. If any of the parents that are attending the seminar tonight, if you care to look at the overall statistics that are generated by campus safety, actually for the last 3 years, all colleges that accept federal funds have to submit yearly reports to the Department of Education. So were you to, whatever search engine you may use, just query Emmanuel College Campus Safety Clery Report, that's Clery, C-L-E-R-Y, and it'll enumerate the kinds of issues that may occur on campus and in our overall neighborhood over the last 3 years. But in terms of your specific question, campus is very, very safe. It really is. Do we have things arise from time to time? We most definitively do. But Boston is overall a very safe city, and we are probably located in the safest section of the city of Boston, and I think our statistics would bear that out. I think it's the fact that we are a very safe campus, I think, is reflective on a lot of things, most specifically the kind of students that we attract and the way that they get out and explore the city. One thing that we would ask our students, and again, if the moms and dads that are listening here tonight, if you would encourage your students when they arrive on campus in September to ask questions. Most of us in campus safety have worked in policing in the city of Boston or in the general area, or we are native Bostonians, such as myself. We know everything about the city of Boston, we really do. We encourage our students to get out and explore the city. It's a world-class city. But we encourage them to ask questions before they do that. We're available 24/7. Our office is open 24/7. We're located in room 139 in the admin building. And again, we encourage all of our students to ask questions, to get out and explore the city. The city of Boston is really a safe and a world-class city.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, 2 questions. How do students sign up for classes? What's the process? And also, how do students know which textbooks to order?
Okay, thank you, Dean Forey. How do students sign up for classes? So if your student has already attended an orientation session, the student will have left orientation with a full schedule. So I will say that we have a little bit of a different process last year during COVID, and now, this year coming out of COVID. We have actually taken the information that students presented to us when they registered for orientation, and we then created a full schedule for your students. Now, again, if your student, this happened for all students, but if your student has already attended orientation, we would know that each and every student that attended orientation or that will attend orientation will meet with an academic advisor. There are 5 of us in the department to discuss the schedule that has been created for them. They are able to make changes at that time. If your student has not yet attended orientation, then they have yet to view the schedule, but will be able to view the schedule and potentially make changes once they attend orientation, whether that be in-person orientation or virtual. And then on a regular basis, when it's time to register for classes, your student will then learn our online system of priority course registration. And, you know, because of the way that our advising program operates, they would then meet with the academic advisor to ask any questions they have about potential courses and to, you know, make sure that they understand sequencing of courses and be able to register for courses. I will say that I want to state that for first year students and sophomore students, the professional academic advisor that is assigned to them does review the schedule to, you know, try to mitigate any problems, or, you know, we try to make sure that students are aware of the courses, obviously, that they have registered for and why they are taking those courses, okay? Second part of the question is about textbooks, and once orientation ends and we're moving into August and those kind of things, you know, your students should be watching EC Learn, which they will have learned about at orientation. And, you know, each section of the course will list what textbook is needed. Your student can then either call or get on the website for the campus bookstore, which is sponsored by Follett, and then order the appropriate books for their courses. I will say that we usually tell parents, don't do this too early, because if you decide that you get here and the student decides that they want to make a change to the schedule, then you've already ordered a set of books that you may then need to go about returning. So, you know, faculty are not super, you know, stringent about making students coming to class with the book on the first couple of days, or even probably the first week, right? So there will be time to get the you know, books, and students usually get books from the bookstore. They can either be bought or rented. On Chegg, where they can be, you know, bought or rented, you know, some other third market places where books can either be bought or rented. So if you have any other questions, feel free to, you know, to reach out.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Susan, there's a question about the packing list, items to bring to the residence hall room, including what size are the beds?
Thank you, Dean Forey. So on the Residence Life website, on the main page, we actually have a page dedicated what to bring and what to leave behind. We talked to the students during orientation about the fact that we do live in a city, that there are standards that we need to utilize in regards to fire safety within the buildings, and that obviously speaks to what we can allow in the building and what we cannot. So all of these items are listed on the what to bring, what to leave behind portion of the Residence Life website. The beds themselves are twins extra long, so something to kind of think about as you look at graduation gifts. Very important stuff to bring. But we also encourage people, if they don't feel comfortable about buying new things, they can also bring stuff from home. But everything is on that list, including the dimensions of the room themselves.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And parents, don't forget those shower shoes. That's clutch. What size is the freshman class this year? So our classes for first year students always range to be around 500, give or take a few students. We're actually thrilled and excited to have every bed in our residence hall, you know, filled for this fall. So we're looking forward to getting back to a traditional and robust and full campus this fall. We can't wait to have your students here. Seeing your students, seeing some students that have already been here at orientation has just been phenomenal, not only for me, but for my colleagues listed here. It brings back a sense of normalcy that I think everyone who has gone through the pandemic has been missing. So, let's see. Mr. Reese, when can students see available courses at Emmanuel? And if a student is unhappy with a course given to them, can they meet with the academic advisor, and does the advisor stay with them all 4 years?
Thank you, Dean Forey. So as I stated, if your student has already attended orientation, then they know how to locate the schedule. They are able to make changes to the schedule. Now, I will say, if the change was not discussed while the student was here physically at orientation or during the virtual orientation, then we are waiting to make those schedule changes until after July 7th. Okay, but they will still have an opportunity. I will tell you that people are moving around, up until the second week of classes when the add drop period actually closes. Okay, so if a student is unhappy with the course that they have, yes, they will be able to speak to an advisor about that. I will let you know that students have not yet found out who their specific advisor is. We have not done those assignments yet. What the students have been told, and what I will say here to you this evening, is that our goal is that by mid-July, your student will receive an email from the person that has been assigned as his or her advisor, okay? I'll receive an introductory email. Now, in the meantime, if the students have the question, they have been informed to send an email to academicadvising@emmanuel.edu, all one word, academic advising. That is the general email box for academic advising. Second part of the question, do students have the same advisor all 4 years? They do not. So there's an official process for major declaration here at Emmanuel that usually happens for many students on or around March 1st of the sophomore year. So when your student enters Emmanuel as an incoming student, they receive what we consider to be a professional advisor, someone on the team of which I serve, and there are 5 of us again, and we are the academic advising department. Once your student officially declares the major, which is signing paperwork, and then that is noted, solidified in our system, then the student moves into the area of the department. So for example, I'm gonna use psychology. They move into the psychology department and are provided with a faculty advisor. The conversations that are being had between a general advisor and a faculty advisor take a different shift, okay? So, usually end of sophomore year on through senior year is the faculty advisor. And so that's basically how a process goes. Now, should your students still have more general questions and feel the need to come back to academic advising to ask a question, they will absolutely not be turned away. Absolutely not. I still see several senior, students who are rising seniors. And in fact, sometimes the faculty advisor, there may be a question that the faculty advisor is not quite sure, in terms of processing, how that goes, because that's just not something that they deal with on a regular basis. And they might say to the student, go back to your former advisor and ask this question and make sure that I have it right. So we do work in collaboration with one another. So during the time, the student will have at least 2 advisors during their 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Dr. Kurtz, we have a couple questions regarding the study abroad program, and also how does the transfer credit process work?
Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Forey. So again, just want to take a moment and thank everyone for continuing to ask the questions in the Q&A. And again, if we don't get a chance today to get to your question, really want to encourage you to follow up, whether it's academic advising, student affairs, et cetera. So several things. Saw a question there. Dr. Forey mentioned the class size. We are really excited about the class size coming in, involving, not only want to welcome our first year students, but also our transfer students, which leads into the next question about how do transfer credits work? Now, if you're a transfer student coming from, you already have a year or maybe more of college credits, you'll be working with your advisor and working with the registrar's office for those credits to then be recognized and attached to your transcript moving forward, as well as to help plan out what your academic program would be. Those of you who are coming from high school, maybe you have AP credits, maybe you've had some dual enrollment with a local college and you have those college credits. The process is actually going to be very similar, where you're going to want to share those quickly. Now, For those credits to be recognized, we will need to have a formal transcript that will be sent to the registrar's office, verified, and put into the program. So as soon as you are able to do that, we really want to encourage you, recognizing that it might take a couple weeks since the end of classes and your orientation. That's okay. We have the summer to work through this. But really, again, working with your advisor and working with the registrar's office, we can get those credits transferred in. Now, I did see an interesting question about if your student is happy with their course schedule, do they need to meet with their academic advisor? And the answer is absolutely yes. This is really something that we hold core to here at the college, is we look at the educational approach as a partnership. And that partnership is between you, the student, and then also the entire institution. And those partnerships are going to be important at different stages in your time at Emmanuel. Some of them are going to be relatively short. Some of them are going to persist the entire 4 years. That meeting, those initial meetings with those advisors, is the first chance for you to give us an indication of where you are on your journey. A lot of your students are going to be really, they know what they want to major. Heck, they know what they want to do when they graduate. And it's a great time for them to share that, because then the advisors and other individuals can start saying, you know what, your sophomore year, you may want to think about taking that course. Or you know what, that's a great course to plan for your senior year. It's a great conversation to start off with. Similarly, we know that we have a lot of students are coming in and they're not exactly sure what they want to do. They're still exploring those options. And so talking with the advisors, you know, what are your strengths? What are your passions? What are the things that you're good at, you're interested in? You can start to put together a course selection that's not only for the immediate fall, but thinking about the spring, thinking about that next year, so that you get a chance for your student to figure out what is going to give them the best chance of success. So please, every student should take that opportunity to meet with that advisor, and then meet with them again in September and continue to check in with them. As Mr. Reese said, we do have some students that even when they are transitioned to the faculty advisor after declaring a major, they love their freshman advisors so much that they continue to go back to them. And that's one of the benefits being Emmanuel. We can make that work. So another question I saw in there was about visibility to student grades. So this is something that has changed, I think, based on when a lot of us went to college to where it is now. So I don't know if this was the policy. I didn't really know when I went to college, but I'm pretty sure my report cards went to the person that was paying the bills, not to me. It's changed. It turns out that actually the students have a right to privacy. And so the grades that they achieve in their courses are only released to them. So if that is the case, that is when you'd want to have a conversation with your student for them to share the grades. But also, again, want to circle back, have the conversation throughout each semester. How are things? That check-in on how they're doing, how their courses are going. You know, sometimes a nudge to reach out to a faculty member or to someone else if they need a little bit of help, a little support. The Academic Resource Center, getting a tutor, talking to their advisor. That sort of conversation often with the family can really help them stay on task throughout the semester and not get bogged down. So unfortunately, I can't grant access to you as parents to their grades. So that's something, a conversation that you would have to have with them. Lastly, study abroad. With your students that come to orientation, I am incredibly proud of the study abroad program and offerings that we have, because in addition to having courses that go to 6 of the 7 continents, and I mean, they go all over the world, the other thing that we've done is we very intentionally have built study abroad to be approachable to everybody. And so we look at that from 2 ways. One, there are going to be students that are going to major in certain programs that have much more rigid expectations for coursework. So it might be nursing, it might be accounting. There may be these majors that just kind of have a really explicit freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, that taking a semester off might be more challenging to do. This is why we have a lot of courses that the travel component is attached to an in-person course. And a lot of these travel courses are actually attached to general requirement courses. So you can be that accounting major, you can be that nursing major, you can be that history major, and you can go take as one of your theology gen ed courses. That course would meet let's say January through May. And then the travel component would be in May after classes are done, ideally before summer jobs and summer internships begin. So we also have, we recognize a lot of you are going to show up, your students are going to show up with passports and they have stamps in them already. Other of you may have not left New England. So we've built a lot of the study abroad programs to allow students to come into it to a level that they feel comfortable with, maybe a little bit of a nudge to put them to extend themselves. So maybe traveling for a week over Christmas break, traveling for a week over spring break, or just a week at the end of the semester is that. Or your student may be ready to go and spend almost a month in India. Your student may be looking to do a 6-week program in Greece, or your student may be looking to spend a semester abroad as well. So for the question regarding to RAs, absolutely. So if a student was interested in doing a study abroad, for example, if they spent spring semester, that was their plan to be study abroad, they would then want to contact the Res Life department, fill out an application in December before they leave, and then they would stay in contact throughout the process. One of the beauties of email is that we can facilitate these sorts of things around the world. So again, thank you so much for the questions. Keep them coming. And thank you, Dr. Forey.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtz. Lauren, there was a question that just came in regarding the health center. So what if a student gets sick at night or on the weekends? What do they do?
Great. Thank you for that question. It's a good one. I've saw that a couple times in the Q&A. So if your student is sick when we are closed, in the evenings, on the weekends, during a holiday, and they live on campus, they are to contact their resident advisor, their RA. And then the RA contacts the POD, the person on duty in campus safety. And between those three professionals, they help triage what the student may need. Is it something that can wait until the next day when we're open? Do they need to be seen at a local urgent care center close to campus, or does this actually warrant an emergency room visit? Campus safety does have a shuttle and can take students to the local urgent care centers, as well as the emergency room, assuming an ambulance is not needed. I would encourage both you and your student to put in the campus safety emergency number, and I can put that in the Q&A as well. But just to have it in your phone so you have it if you have any questions, you're concerned, and then of course the student has it in their phone as well.
Thank you, Lauren. And families, that is such a great question. And while our address is 400 the Fenway, that's our front address, you should know our backyard is essentially Longwood Ave. And on Longwood Ave, it is filled with, 3 world-class hospitals. So literally we have hospitals surrounding our entire gates. Let's see, Mr. Reese. Could you please talk about how students register as part of the Colleges of Fenway Consortium?
I can indeed. So, as you know, Emmanuel is part of the Fenway Consortium. And so with that, students are able to take courses at other colleges of the consortium. And the way that works is that happens as part of the course registration process. Now, I will preface all of this by saying that during the first semester, we do not, it is an agreement between all of the schools, we do not let students cross-register for courses during the first semester. Again, that is highly due to the transitionary period for students and the fact that they need to get their feet wet in college and, learn how to maneuver processes before jumping into something of that nature. So beginning in the spring semester of the freshman year, students are allowed to take courses through cross-registration is what it's called. And basically, it's an application process. It is something where the application has to be approved. And I'm going to say that's somewhat of a formality, basically, because what they need to do is kind of look at seating, and capacity at the school that is hosting. So cross-registration usually opens a week after the registration at Emmanuel, the priority registration at Emmanuel. So, students can kind of look at what their schedule is that they're creating and then say, okay, I'd like to try to take an art course at Mass College, Mass Art. And so, maybe I'll look at cross-registration. There's a website that students can visit where they can do the drop-down menu for the school that they're interested in taking the course at, and then look and see what courses are available for cross-registration. I will let you know that not all courses at any of the consortium schools are open for cross-registration. It just does not work that way, okay? So that's basically the process. The student would then also, talk to the advisor to kind of, you want to make sure how those things fit within the schedule, because the how do I say it, the schedule sequencing is not the same at all of the colleges. So an example, Emmanuel has classes on Tuesday, Thursday rotation, a Monday, Wednesday rotation, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday rotation. I can tell you off the top of my head that Simmons, their class rotation is a Tuesday, Friday, not a Tuesday, Thursday. Okay, so we're going to need to look at how the class can fit into the schedule, make sure that it works that way. Once the application has been approved, then it moves to the next stage, which is through the registrar's office at the whole school. Okay, students are notified, through that process. And, basically, there will be times when, as an advisor, I can't see that the student has intended to take a class for cross-registration, but all the student has to do is say, I left that open for a cross-registered class. And then once I'm checking the schedule, I have that written in my notes. I can then check back later to make sure that, the course is actually there and that we have 16 credits, potential credits on the schedule. So that's basically the process.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. So there's been several questions regarding financial aid and the bill, and those are very important questions, and they're also very specific questions. So what we want to say is that the financial services area will be offering multiple Q&As this summer, and they're also happy to meet with students and their family members, via Zoom or in person. So you can either contact the financial student services area to make an appointment, or you can join one of the Q&A offerings that will be sent out via email. Let's see. Dr. Kurtz, what percentage of students graduate in 4 years?
Thank you, Dr. Forey. So the percentage in 4 years is actually a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a difficult number, only because we often have students that will take a gap semester or other reasons. So we usually look at it in a 5 to 6 year. And in that, I believe that we're looking at somewhere in the 70%. So that includes, and again, this is a little bit nuanced, that includes when students transfer in or transfer out, they're not part of the cohort. It's something that is defined by, at the federal government level, of a students who show up for fall of freshman year. So an example of where this number gets a little bit difficult is last year with the pandemic, we had a larger than normal number of students that chose to, in essence, take a gap semester. Because of our decision to go 100% online, a number of our students chose to take that semester off and then join us in the spring. Technically, those students do not fall under the cohort tracking. Similarly, as transfer students come in, even if they transfer in after that first semester freshman year, so they come in as second semester freshmen, or they come in as second semester or first semester sophomores, they don't fall into the tracking of the cohorts. So that's why those numbers are always a little bit difficult to nail down.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtz. And while I have you, could you talk about how the honor program works?
Absolutely. So the honor program is a really kind of awesome thing, because what we've done is we've created an honors program that, instead of carving out courses that run separate and parallel to other offerings, Instead, we've gone around and created a program that allows those students who join the honors program, it's an opportunity for them to go more in depth in the classroom, but also then it's a commitment to participating and doing an internship or a project to work with faculty towards distinction in the field. So a distinction in the field is, some of you maybe from other institutions where you went to school, it's like getting honors in your major, usually requires the equivalent, and again, there's some variation here, of a senior thesis, an honors thesis, where those students are going to work with the faculty member. It may be facilitated through a course, it may be directed study to produce a significant scholarly body of work. But the students are expected to participate in courses that have an honors designation. So this works well because, for example, I don't know if Dr. Forey recognizes, I teach one of the honors courses. So I actually this past semester taught an honors course that fulfilled the general requirement for one of our science courses. So ironically, the majority of the students in that course were not science majors. They were students that were majoring in poli-sci, in history, in business, education, that were in the honors program. And they took this course as part of the fulfillment of their gen ed program. It also fulfilled the honors program. It's a fantastic way to have smaller class sizes and really kind of sign up for going a little bit further in depth and being pushed in a way that may not be the case in another course that would fulfill a similar requirement. So if you have more questions about that, please reach out. We can follow up. It's also information on the website, and there is opportunity to have conversations during the orientation.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtz. Mr. Reese, a couple questions for your area. How flexible are faculty with student athletes when they have a scheduled game? Are our course schedules taken into consideration to accommodate both?
Thank you, Dean Forey. So I can definitely say that this is something that we do look at from the very onset. So again, even during orientation, and for the most part, we do know the students that are athletes, but if we don't, the student will then let us know that they are an athlete, and we take into consideration, because we get information from the teams. So we talk with your student in terms of scheduling about, okay, maybe you need to take classes, earlier in the morning so that you can, be finished earlier on in the day, because we know when your practices are. They do take into consideration the schedule for games. I mean, we are, very big sports fans on this campus for all of our Division III sports. And so faculty do take that into consideration. Now, I will say education comes first. And so, we are, will require the student needs to get their work done, definitely. But we do, understand that students will need to leave class, for games, but we do ask that the student absolutely make their faculty aware and, discuss whatever plan they need to discuss for, either leaving class early, or if an assignment needs to be turned in a little bit later, or actually assignment may need to be completed earlier so that, they're, free to then focus on that game or, particular practice, things like that. So, we do take that into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. And while I have you, so Mr. Reese serves as our advisor to the college's Black Student Union, which just celebrated its 50th anniversary. We're extremely proud of them. And the reason I said that introduction is because we have some questions regarding diversity and culture and how do we celebrate and honor that at Emmanuel.
Okay. So I will tell you that Emmanuel is a very, 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 it's a wonderful place for students who are looking to be student leaders, and that includes our affinity groups, be on executive boards. That's just something that you couldn't find a better place than Emmanuel. But we do, in terms of culture, celebrate, we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, we celebrate Black History Month, we celebrate Latino, History Month, we celebrate, Pride Month. Emmanuel is just a wealth of, our students keep us abreast of, what is important to them. And as a way of supporting our students and our holistic approach to supporting our students, that obviously includes making sure that, we are, culturally aware, and that we are supporting our students, in many different, many different facets. So there's, again, Cape Verdean Club, there's Asian Student Association, there's Italian Club. We just, if there's something that your student sees here that, or doesn't see here that they think they would like to see here, there's also a process for starting your own club, an application process where you get signatures on a petition, and then, someone from Student Activities will help carry you through the process of doing that. So, in terms of diversity and multiculturalism, I'm going to say, like many places, there is some improvement that needs to be made, absolutely. But it is also something that we are very well aware and want to keep abreast of, and want to excel at, because, we want Emmanuel to be your student's place.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Do you offer work study? So the short answer is yes. And I'm actually going to ask Susan Benzie to take this question, because as she oversees housing, she hires one of the highest amount of students on campus.
Thank you, Dean Forey. So it's twofold. Yes, we do offer employment on campus. You'll find that there are positions that people will actually hire over the summer, or at least provide more information. So for example, Residence Life will hire first-year students in particular for our security from 8 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Sunday. So we work in tandem with campus safety. This is a work study position. This is a position that we offer only to first year students. During orientation, Residence Life will specifically outreach to residential students in regards to applying for the position, giving them more information. In addition to that, you can always have your student go to the Career Center website on our forward-facing website, and they'll be able to provide more information about the Career Center. So there are some opportunities over the summer to apply for positions. The majority of the positions you will look to apply for, have students apply for, will happen at the very beginning of the semester when they arrive on campus, and that's either residential or commuter students. One of the other positions that we hire or look to hire over the summer is the Gene Yawkey Center, which is one of the buildings that your student will be at as they arrive for orientation. So there's definitely lots of opportunities for students to find employment on campus.
Thank you, Susan. Really quickly, someone asked about dining hall options, and are there options for students with severe allergies or limitations? And the short answer is yes. Every single day, we actually have a gluten-free area, so that's always readily available for any student. And then any student that has specific dining needs, we set them up with our dining director, who's always willing and happy to meet with any student to map out a course of action so that they can eat and enjoy the dining hall experience. Dr. Kurtz, would you mind taking the next one? Are religious liberties protected on campus?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Forey. Absolutely. And this is it's a really great question, because Emmanuel being a Catholic institution, we actually subscribe to something that is referred to as the Catholic intellectual tradition. And the Catholic intellectual tradition can be best summarized as the search for truth. And something that I will share this with everyone, that when I first joined as a faculty member as a biologist, one of the very first courses that I taught was evolutionary biology. And I remember having a question of, are there any limitations to teaching this course at a Catholic institution? And it was made explicitly clear to me that part of the search for truth is that you search for truth within the lens of the course that you're taking it. So how you define truth in biology is going to be different than in philosophy, than it might be in theology, than it may be in literature. So, and that is something that we celebrate, not only at Emmanuel, but at all of the Catholic institutions across the country. So we do not have, so not only do we welcome Catholics and Christians, but Jews and Buddhists and Hindu and Muslims are all welcome on campus, have access to all opportunities here, and actually in many ways they help to provide a very vibrant, I'll say, classroom experience from my experience, and I'll take a small step of a leap of faith that they also provide a vibrancy through all the co-curricular activities as well. So please do not have any concerns that if you and your family are not Catholics, your students will be welcome and will become incredibly important members of our community.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtz. And while I have you, there was a follow-up question regarding religious exemption and the new vaccine requirement, and how does the college handle that?
Great, thank you. And so with the religious exemption for the vaccine, and also this applies to if you are searching for a medical exemption as well, we need you to fill out a request. So there's a form that was sent out to all students, and that needs to be filled out. And each of these requests are being handled, whether it's the medical or religious, on a case-by-case basis. In each case, I do ask for patience on this, because a lot of it is we are doing the due diligence to evaluate each of the requests, because we want to give them the seriousness that they deserve. In many cases, maybe we may be asking for some follow-up information, just so we can better understand the nature of either request. I know sometimes, especially with the medical requests, with medicine, it can be, in some cases, very straightforward. But in other cases, we have, students that we want to be able to address not only within the vaccine perspective, but also other needs that they may have while being on campus. So if you're looking for an exemption for medical or religious, please fill out that form, and we will be in touch to kind of work with you on to better understand it and how to facilitate your student.
Really quickly, I'm going to answer the last two questions. What types of activities do you hold for students during the week and weekends for them to get to know each other? So we're very fortunate. We have a robust student programming here at Emmanuel, and a lot of it is student run and student influenced, which we love, because they're taking advantage of their own experience. So there's ways for students to get involved by giving recommendations, helping to plan the programs. We have a great student activities office that's located in our campus center. Lots of traditions for all the different class years. And we're very lucky being part of the Colleges of Fenway Consortium. We do a lot of cross sharing on campuses, and sometimes do very large programming together, which is just, a different impact for the total college experience. So I would say it's robust, and we're busy. Students will, tell you probably by October how busy they are trying to balance their academics and also, navigating, how they're getting involved on campus. And what is the dining hall experience like on the weekends? The dining hall experience is pretty consistent with how it is during the week. The one, major difference is we go from breakfast and lunch to a brunch option on the weekends, which is a fan favorite, I think, of every college student in the nation. And certainly, Bon Appetit is our charter service, and they're an award-winning dining hall provider. And having been a dean for a lot of time, and also having worked at different institutions, this is actually the first institution I've been employed at where students never complain about the food. They applaud the food. So that's something to be said. So I would just like to say thank you to all of our family members who joined us tonight. We know that it's hard after working all day to kind of get on an orientation, but we certainly want to give you all an opportunity to connect with us in a more thoughtful and intentional way. We look forward to welcoming not only your students, but you. We are honored that you're entrusting your student in our care. We view parents as partners, and we certainly can't wait to make all of you members of the extended Saints family.